various design issues for the project. The next CAG meeting is anticipated to be in December, and then another public meeting will be held to update and obtain input from the public at large. With that, I will turn it over to Design Manager Wally Dietrich. Wally?
Thank you, Joe. The update that we want to give you here today is just to kind of go over, it's been a while since we've been in front of you, remind everybody what our project goal is, some of the problem areas on Fleming Road that we've been identifying and continue to work with the CAG to identify, go a little bit over our design criteria discussion and what we're looking at there, as well as talk a little bit about some of the input that we're looking for from the community advisory group, other project tasks, and where we need to go from here. So the project goal, which we had set from the outset, was to develop a preferred plan for Fleming Road, which replaces deteriorated pavement, improves safety, but also maintains the character of the corridor while maintaining the disturbance to adjacent property owners. Now, there's a lot of competing interests there with that statement, but that always has been and remains our goal for this project. So, some of the problem areas that we had gone over the last CAG meeting, just to get you up to speed, we brought in Bill Baverick from ARA, you remember him from the county's pavement preservation program, and he gave a little talk about the pavement conditions out there and some of the different distresses that we see with respect to cracking along the center line, the edges, and deteriorated patches, and kind of gave an explanation and his analysis of what we're seeing out there on Fleming Road with respect to the pavement condition and the fact that all these distresses kind of indicate the failure of the pavement out there. We also talked about the profile and all of the hills that make up Fleming Road, and the concern about what we have to do to those to maintain them to meet adequate design criteria. And one of the things we got into is how many of those actually need to be modified, and there's 38 vertical curves out there. How many do you think would need to be modified? Well, that answer is it depends. And for 50 miles an hour for design speed, 36 out of the 38 would need to be modified, and then the modification could be anywhere from 6 inches to a couple of feet. If you look at a 40 mile an hour design speed, 32 of those need to be modified. 30 mile an hour design speed is 17, and if you look at what we're calling the 3R criteria, and Dave will get into a little bit of that, but that's another set of criteria that we've been looking at to be able to follow on this project. Only 13 of those 38 vertical curves need to be modified in some way to meet that set of criteria. So that's something that we're working on with the CAG as well. Site distance issues. Last meeting we talked a lot about some things out there that we can do to address site distance, whether it be power pole mailboxes, trees. Those are all opportunities to improve the conditions out there as well. The pavement cross slope. We have areas on Fleming Road where either the cross slope due to the curves, the road is flat, we need to bank it one way or the other. What are the impacts associated with doing that? And what are the options for trying to mitigate and correct some of those issues? Drainage is another area that we're looking at where we historically have had either water leading up to the pavement or water on the pavement. Those are also areas that we're working to address, and as we get into the drainage design, we'll want to make sure that things like that do not happen with our new road design. And then the last thing that we're looking at is hazards. Obviously we have a lot of trees in up and down the corridor. A lot of those do present themselves in the form of a hazard with respect to being too close to the roadway, and Dave will get into some of the options that we're looking at to help mitigate those. Locations of a shoulder where we don't have a shoulder or the slopes are steeper. A couple months ago we had a rollover crash out there on Fleming Road in one of the areas where we basically have a 1-to-1 slope coming right back down to the roadway. So there are obviously concerns with that and some different options to help put some things out there that would help prevent this in the future. And then pavement edge drop-offs too. We'll be looking at that as another safety aspect to address those issues. So With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave. He's going to give a little bit of the design criteria and then some of the options that we're looking at to help mitigate some of these things we've talked about.
Yeah, so the first thing we did is we established a chart kind of summarizing all the different criteria that are available to us for building the road and all the things that define the function and the safety of the roadway. So we started out by looking at some of the different items, the roadway lane and shoulder widths, the horizontal, vertical curvature of the road, sight distance, you know, at an intersection if there's obstructions like we saw before. The clear zone, you know, outside of the roadway, what kind of hazards, either by fixed objects or unacceptable slopes, need to be looked at. And then we have two sets of criteria we looked at. One is for new construction or a reconstructed roadway in the same place. And we have a set of criteria for that. We also have criteria we looked at for something called 3R, and that's for resurfacing, rehabilitation, restoration, any improvement to a roadway really other than a reconstructed roadway. We have a little lesser stringent guidelines to follow. And for Fleming Road, we have a relatively low crash history, and so because of that, it allows us to look at the 3R as a possibility for design criteria, even though we're reconstructing the roadway. So this offers us a chance, or has offered a chance for us to discuss with the CAG some opportunities for their input because of the flexibility of the design criteria. And so in this case, we're looking at the side slope construction outside the roadway. The top view is an example of one with the reconstruction standards, and the bottom one is with the 3R standards. Maybe a little hard to see from where you are, but essentially we have flatter slopes in the top view. A little extends the improvement a little bit further away from the road. The bottom view with the 3R, where we're allowing the slopes to be a little bit steeper, tightens up, restricts the footprint of the roadway. The CAG had a preference, in this case, for the 3R, the bottom view. The second option for the CAG, an opportunity to input, is in this case we have in the top view not really a difference between design criteria here, but as far as implementing it. Conventionally, we would want to construct a shoulder here and put some sort of a drainage swale in there. And the option here would be that versus maybe an intermittent construction of curb and gutter. And what the curb and gutter does down here in this case is it allows a redirection for traffic back onto the roadway. And it also allows the gutter to be able to take some of that, transmit some of that water. And so in this case up here, where we wouldn't be allowed to leave a hazard in there, or the trees in this case would be compromised with the root system, we could leave it here with intermittent curb construction. So that was offered to the CAG, and we have some direction to proceed looking further into this as an option. Also with the retaining wall as an option too, we looked at. This is back to the location in slide 6 with our problem area where we had the crash because of the severe slope. And you can see the existing slope right here. In order to correct that, in order to construct that shoulder and that swale section, and then using reconstruction design standards, we're spread out. We have a big impact zone. The yellow area is everything that would need to be removed. Trees, any object in that location needs to be removed. If we step down to the middle here and we put in our 3R standards, we can tighten up that slope a little bit. You can see the back slope is a little bit tighter. Still a pretty significant impact. But if we look at a retaining wall, we can put a retaining wall in with a curb and gutter there and really tighten up that area. You can see the impact is a lot less, the yellow area is a lot less. So that was an option also presented, and we also had direction to continue pursuing that.